Welcome everyone to the teams with me, the Pom. You know who I am, and I've got the lovely co-host, Big Leg Dog. How you going, my friend?
Fantastic, Pommy, coming off a nice win at Marvel Stadium. It's always exciting when we get to do the teams after a win and heading into an interesting clash interstate.
Mate, we're the AO, whereas a lot of people will know Carlton haven't beaten Adelaide in Adelaide Oval. So it'll be a first for Ducks. Quack, quack, as they say. Big thank you to Carls, the Queen of Chat, Robbie Cook, the legend that is, and Donna FN, who have just become YouTube members. Grazie, grazie, grazie. And before we start, I've got a little thing here. We've got fan mail, Leg Dog.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, so a bit of fan mail has come, and this comes all the way from a guy called Colin, good day to you, who says, love your show, you and Leg Dog, two of my favourites. Sent you something, Pom, to open your eyes. So obviously this is the team show. So this has been handmade by a place that they call themselves Dowanon. And they sent me the Voss Spiracy silver cap. So I think that's a reference to Dow. Good day, Robbie. Good day, Joseph. Good day, Damon. Good day, Ari. I'll take that off. Just a bit of a joke to lighten the mood. Come on, everyone. It's a joke. But obviously, we've got the teams in about 10 to 15 minutes. Everyone in chat and you, Leg Dog, what are you expected to see in these changes? Because obviously, we have a few people fit and healthy.
Oh, gee whiz. That has absolutely thrown me. Look, I think I'd like to see. I expect to see Mark Pitnett come into the side. I wouldn't be surprised if they give Jay Sauce a rest for a week, but let's assume that he's going to play. I think maybe one of the wing rotation come out of the side. Maybe a Josh Honey, and Matt Owies is apparently fit. Pom, is he a kind of player we can bring straight back into the side, or does he need to play VFL to get his tackling game going?
I mean, obviously, I'd say if I was guessing, I'd personally like him in the VFL for a week. He has missed enough games, I think, to be a concern. But having said that, number 2 in the comp for inside 50 tackles per game, I think he'll come straight in. I predict Honey and Motlop out.
Yeah,
Mike took the words out of my mouth as I'm hiccuping because I'm laughing. Pitto always in, Honey Motlop out. I think the same. And Gav feels he comes straight back in as well. So I think that'll be the 2 changes if I was guessing.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Jack Nunes was the sub. He wasn't used. I'd imagine that means he's probably going to play VFL this week. I don't think you want to keep players like that on ice for too long. And a surprising one for me, Pom, was probably Will Satterfield, who we weren't totally shocked he was named last week, but I was kind of surprised by how well he performed. He kicked that amazing goal to start and then was just really solid in that sort of wing rotating sort of into defense. He was a bit of everywhere.
He was, wasn't he? And it's the first time this season, I don't know what you think and chat think, that I've seen an actual VFL footballer bring VFL form straight away. And what I mean by that is usually you see glimpses of it. Cottrell was a good example. You saw glimpses of it, not quite sustainable. Satterfield looked like it was a VFL game. That is exactly what he did in VFL, finding the pill at will, making himself available, keeping the width. So I was really impressed with Satterfield. And really, he's got, 6 games when we play finals, if you include that, to really cement a contract.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not... when you think about the league, for a guy like this, these games are going to be really important because even if it's not with us, like I actually wouldn't have think there's many teams out there pursuing him. But if he can carry that form that we saw on the weekend and carry that through, then A, we'll want to keep him, and B, other clubs will come knocking. It's up to him at this point to keep that form. And I think that is a reasonable motivator, and we've seen it work for players before where you're almost on the out and you find that opportunity, you hold on to it. So kudos to him because, I was surprised by that performance, but very happy with it.
Mate, pleasantly surprised. Thank you very much, Lewis. Louis? Why am I struggling with that? It's Lewis. I'm going Lewis. Good day. Thank you, mate. Good friend of the channel. I think Voss is doing with the... What is wrong with my English? I think this is... Oh, God. I think this is what Voss is doing with these players. I agree, Gav. I think he really has done. But, yes, and a few people enjoying the Dow banter. It's obviously in good spirits. I mean, thank you to Mrs. Pom, who actually made this for me as well.
Vosspiracy.
I wrote that, though. That's clever. Bretsky would like to see Zach Williams play on the wing or forward. Thoughts on that, Lekdog and chat?
I guess the question would be over the tank, as they call it. Can he play a full game on the wing? I think he can certainly be one of those players that rotates through the mids and further up the ground, potentially spending time on the wing. But I don't think forward is where I'd be playing. I still think he rotates through defence. We saw him early in the year play a lockdown role at times, play that Jordan Boyd role when he's healthy. And also he's a great outlet kick. I'm not sure that his skills or his pressure would stack up in the forward line.
I'm inclined to believe. I think the back pocket, half-back flank, that rotation is the dream. I think Boyd did it really well. We miss him. Zach Williams, I think, will slot straight in there. I think round one lets us know what we're doing, if you know that. Round one lets you kind of know what Voss is. My mate Paolo in chat, Pom's slow and steady. I don't know what's wrong with my English today. I just took a mouthful of water and totally missed my mouth and all. The Queen's English. Obviously, we've got a big one this week. Thank you very much, George. And we've got a big one this week against Adelaide. Obviously, a team that has really... Well, I don't know if you'd say have disappointed, but I would say I probably had them a bit higher, but 5-13. Really, they've had a poor year, haven't they? Let's be honest. They've had a few injuries. Key personnel have left them. Dodie has been announced out this morning as well. They're on what? A 4-game losing streak now, is it? So they're there for the taking. I
think pre-season, I can't remember my predictor, but I think I had them on 6 or 7 wins. To have only won 5 at this point is pretty disappointing. I think they have underperformed, but maybe we probably had higher hopes for them than was necessary. Some of those young guys that we thought were gonna probably play more consistently for them, like a Lockie Scholl, who might actually come into that side this week, hasn't had an opportunity to play. It's just been an odd. They just have fallen away, and that's all it is. And Pom, you were right. You mentioned in the preamble that we haven't won at Adelaide Oval in the VFL AFL history. Apparently, we did win there in some sort of inter-Sandful VFL waffle competition 100,000 years ago. So we have technically won on the land, just not anytime soon and not in any game that actually counts. So I don't think they're going to break their loss streak, and I think we're going to finally break the hoodoo over in Adelaide because, we bloody want to.
Oh, mate, of course you did. And I think what's important as well is that you've got to really look at it this way. The ladder tells the tale. And I keep saying this every week. There is massive gaps. If you break these sides into, if you go in categories of 4 at the moment, with some exceptions, let's say 5, I would say that between all 5 teams, there's 3 or 4 goals between each quadrant, if you look at it that way. Interesting as well, the AO's usually a happy hunting ground for Adelaide Oval, but this year, if you take out the anomaly of Eagles, because let's be honest, probably we could play the Eagles, this chat and you and me, and we'd batter the Eagles. they're not really a proper football side at the moment. They average a 4-goal margin loss, and teams have put them away to the sword. A good example is St Kilda, who put them to the sword, who not many people fancy. But you have got to look at what they do. They are very strong around stoppage clearance. They are one of the best sides in the comp for generating stoppage clearances. However, ranked bottom 4 in scores from stoppage clearance. So something that Carlton really last week was huge, because they generated over 30 points alone in forward stoppages. So I think this is going to be an interesting one. And as Paolo says here, we covered it earlier, Matty Owi's number 1 tackler inside 50. That is where you can really peg them back.
Yeah, and I think we need to. I think last week for us, we got a hell of a lot of scores from center or from stoppages and clearances, but we didn't actually win the ruck battle in any capacity. So what I want to see is Mark Pitnet to come in and do a job on Riley O'Brien, who's in some really good form, and hopefully we can sort of carry on the way we generated scores from last week, but also get some ascendancy in the ruck, because I still think it's important. I know last week showed that we can win without it, but I'd still like to not be watching JSOS not go up and compete to have an extra man at the ground. I'd rather just have Mark Pitnet up there elbowing blokes and chinning blokes and doing all that good stuff he does do.
Mate, I'm with you, and I think what is really important this week as well is we're about 10 minutes away from the team announcement. I think what is really exciting for Carlton as well this week is that we get to see Pitnet back. But a lot of people in chat talking about JSOS being rested. I actually think you'll see a huge improvement in JSOS's game, should they choose to play him, purely because he'll go back to his old role of playing 90% across high half forward. And I genuinely do believe as well, I've watched JSOS quite closely since the Pitnet injury. I actually think I've noticed his rhythm is really affected after he goes in the ruck for his first stint. So, like, this week was a great example. He was in and around everything. And then he had that flotation, and you could see it messed his rhythm pattern up. The wings weren't even looking for him anymore because he spent half the time in the corridor. And I think he is a real deadly thing. And it's important to remember in 2019 and 2020, he was the leading player at our club of inside 50s to goals. So when he had an inside 50, and he was top 5 in the comp for both years. So it's a very understated thing about JSOS, his ability to create. And really, I think that fixes a lot of Carlton's, people say, goal efficiency woes. I think he's a huge part of it.
It gives us another option up on the wing, sort of taking those relieving marks or taking those marks down the line, sort of on the opposite side to Harry Mackay, who we know is very good at that. Charlie's done it at times this year, but I think JSOS really excels in that role because of his ability to go inside 50 and find targets. Hopefully, I mean, we keep talking about Pitnet. I'm just assuming he's going to be in. He also gives us relief in that space, but also I'm excited to see a more well-rested TDK throughout the entirety of a game, because he does get a bit tired when he's the number one man, and we've seen him excel when he's been sort of that pinch hitter or taking a lower percentage than the main ruckman and jumping over the top of his opponents or dominating the second stringers. So there's a lot of things fall into place when you bring in a guy like Mark Pitnet to be the main man in the ruck. And as you and I have discussed offline as well before, I actually don't mind him as a forward target. He hasn't kicked a hell of a lot of goals, but I don't mind him down there competing and presenting as an option either.
Well, it gives you that option in game, doesn't it, as well? You've seen how effective it is sides against us, where they float a forward, a ruckman up forward. It was interesting to see Pitnet in the VFL. He seemed to spend a lot of time just resting forward. And we've noticed TDK, we mentioned it on this show, I think it was about week 3, playing behind the ball. We've seen TDK a lot these last couple of weeks. He rests behind the ball, lives in that hole, seems to take them uncanny grabs. So I could see a world where he becomes Pitnet's legs.
I'm smiling because Pom, I've been calling for that for 2 years. So seeing it actually happen has been enjoyable. But you're right. You go and look at all of his marks through the year, all of those highlight marks. I reckon 90% of them are coming from the defensive side. He reads the ball really well. And when we've already got a strong defense back there, he's able to just go back and pinch off a few, which is really great.
Mate, I agree with you. And to answer your question, Juddy, I think Lachlan Scholl is someone that really complements the list. Should that be for the Liam Jones third, which is provisional, I think that suits a lot of holes. I think as well, what people forget as well, when you have Pitternet in the side, what really excites me, is how it affects the entire balance of the team. So Pitternet, you go back to the start of the year, looked really dangerous when we could get Pitternet to beat the ruckman up, and then we float this sprightly thing. But also, we're seeing Harry really suffer the last couple of weeks with marking, and you see Carlton deploy him very high up the wing at times as an exit ball. Last week, we didn't really see that, and TDK did it. But in the opening rounds, TDK was living there as the exit, and so was Pitternet, which allowed us to always have Charlie or Harry in the goal square, waiting for the transition. Thank you very much, Peter, as well. Much love, mate. I think that's huge for the club because you want your keys as far up the ground as possible. And I think he's a real missing layer. I can't say, I said it last week, McGovern, brilliant. And you saw that last week, over 50 points from transition. Carlton really killed them. Do you know what I mean? Whenever they were in trouble, they created it. The extra layer for me is Pitternet. Pitternet and McGovern, we're going to smash these guys, man.
Yeah, you're right. Pitto unlocks a lot of key cogs in our team. A lot of dominoes fall, and as you've said, Harry is really good at marking up on the wing and being that outlet mark and taking the contested grab. But it's very hard for him to kick a goal when he's marking the ball 75 from home. I'm with you. I'd much prefer TDK and JSOS or Jack Martin and JSOS or whoever the combination is being the ones that present up the ground and allowing Harry and Charlie to own the forward line because guess what? One of them won last year's Coleman and one of them is currently leading this year's Coleman. Like they're pretty good at kicking goals.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. And just before teams announced, this is a great question by Angus. And I don't know if Paolo's still here because I know Paolo and me talk about midfield time probably more than any ever when we're together on the phone. Interesting this because it's relevant to Mr. Dow as well, but it's very interesting in the terms of Voss's system. And Sam Walsh is a great example. We've noticed when a midfielder goes out of this side, Voss is very privileged that he's got 5-6 mids that he can call upon. And we saw this week that there was that missing George Hewitt type thing. George Hewitt, he's averaging that 70%. This week, we saw him increase Kennedy, Walsh, Chera, and Fisher had the 25% increase. The rest had 12%.
Yeah.
I think what's really exciting about that is, does anyone think that Walsh looks so much better when he is playing that almost 60% time on the ball? His numbers were 72% total on ball, up from 51 the week before. I personally think when he's on the ball, he's so much sharper. And I think it may have given Voss a little bit of an issue with what does he do with Hewitt? Does he go back to having 3 bigger bodies, Hewitt, Kennedy, and Cripps, which is his preferred? Or does he think, you know what? Fisher gives me something. And Fisher was a big component when he went fully on the ball in Carlton's massive turnaround in their scores from clearances.
It's an interesting conversation, Pom. I guess Hewitt has some versatility in that he can play behind the ball, but we don't need him to do that in this side. He is the big body inside mid. That's where he's been dominating this year. And I guess it's a blessing and a curse, right, with guys like Fish and guys like I'm having a stroke here. Sam Walsh, is that because they're versatile, Sam Walsh in particular, he can do anything and do it really well. It's that you kind of, I don't know. I love him being on the ball. I love him being around the ball, and I think he's really effective there. but you can afford to shuffle him out. And it's almost robbing Peter to pay Paul a bit, but you can shuffle him out to make room for a Hewitt and still sneak wins. But I'm with you. I much prefer Walshy being on the ball. I love Fish when he's been up around the ball. He's 100% proven me wrong this year. Initially when he was drafted, this is what he was drafted to do, and he's doing it really well. But you can't argue with how well George Hewitt's been playing. I think it's a good problem to have, and it's a difficult one for the coaching staff to solve, because you got to find that balance of Fisher forward, wing, mid, Cherif mid, wing, back, Walsh mid, wing. Like, you got to find that balance, and I'm glad I don't have to do it, because I don't have the answer for you. But it's an exciting problem to have.
Good problem to have, hasn't it? Teams should drop. People are saying teams are in. I don't know where you've seen them. AFL website is either lying to me or it's telling the truth, but I can't quite see them yet. So once I've got confirmation, I will give you them. But obviously, give me your score predictions. We'll go early before we've seen the team. See if it changes.
Score prediction, Pom. I reckon the teams are in, by the way. I reckon the Blues are going to win this one by. I think it's going to be similar to the GWS game. I think we'll probably try and just control the game and then put a few on later in the game. I think it's going to be another sort of, 36-point win, 37-point win. I don't think it's going to be a terribly exciting game, but I think we should, like it was against GWS, we should look at the scoreboard at the end of the game and go, oh, we won by 6 goals. Oh, that's good. I think it's going to be one of those.
Mate, I love it. I'm on the AFL website. I still can't see them. So, wait a minute. I lie. Tell you what, I'm a lying boy. So here you are, stand by. But we were right. Mark Pitternet in and Matty Owies. So it's good to know that we do pretty well here. We do pretty well here. And I'll bring this up so we can have a look. And I've seen your comments in chat. We'll have a look, see if it's changed your mind. But these are the teams. So Josh Worrell comes in for Crows, which is kind of a surprise. I thought they may have brought in Rochelle and they may have brought in Scholl. Both have been knocking the door down, especially Scholl.
They must know Scholl's coming to the Blues, Bomb.
Yeah, well, he is the Dow of their Sandful. He is killing it. Mark Pitternet and Owies come in. Jack Silvani and Honey managed. So JSOS does get the rest. A few of you
JSOS admitted. That's rough.
Well, I'm going to
put managed next to him.
I'm going to call it managed because I'm going to put some respect in the names. But they're your teams. You got Lockie Plowman, Wheater in Doc, Newman, Gov, Sardi, Gottrell, Cripps, Kennedy on the wing. Oh, no. Fisher, TDK, Owies, Mackay, Kerno, Durden, Pitternet, Walsh, Chera, Young, O'Brien, Satterfield, and Motti, Unny, Noons, JSOS, and the man himself, Mr. Dow.
That is a very tough emergency list to pick who's going to be sub, because Josh Honey, he's been managed, so you'd expect that he's not going to play. Jack Nunes was sub but not activated last week. You'd imagine they want to get a full game into him in the twos. Silvani's apparently been omitted. That only leaves one man, Pom. The Vospiracy. Maybe it's coming to an end. Maybe we see Paddy Dow come in as the medical sub.
Mate, I would be more shocked than probably the faces of the people outside of the cave when Jesus not opened the cave and said, "You're right, I'm all right, actually." I reckon I'd be more shocked than that. But I'm going to predict. I reckon they'll give it. I reckon they'll give it to Josh Honey. I reckon they'll keep him around. JSOS, interesting. There was reports that JSOS did have soreness. Yet Rocky's just mentioned it as well. So wouldn't surprise me because obviously now there's bigger games coming up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm actually 100%. Excited about that, and I'll tell you for why. Because he has worked his ass off, probably deserves a rest. Come back this time next week, and take it to the Lions. Bigger fish to fry. I mean, this is a Mickey Mouse game for us.
look at it as a reward rather than a punishment or anything like that for Sauce. He did a hell of a job while Pitto was out, and you get the week off, come back next week. Let's take on Brisbane. Looking at the lineup, Pom, I'd be very surprised if this is the one, if they line up like this at the bounce in the game. But quite a tall side. We know we're going to be playing a tall side moving forward. We got lots of talented talls, and there's got to be a spot for all of them. On the interchange, Lewis Young, he's a lock for our starting 22. O'Brien, he's a lock on a wing. Will Setterfield and Jesse Motlop, they're probably those two spots we've been talking about for a few weeks now, that at some stage decisions will be made on those two spots, and Silvani will take one, Owies will take another, and then you've got guys like Zach Williams still to come in. So it's exciting times for us because there's a lot of competition for these spots.
Mate, I'm with you. I mean, but if we break the team down, I just want to alert you to this. So I've looked at the team now. I'm going to change my score to 55 because I want you to take you to the middle of the halfback flank and the fullback line of Adelaide Crows. Jordan, American slang for arsehole, and Nick Murray, who sounds like every drive to work radio name, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds like he's. But
you're on with Nick Murray.
Them two on Kerno and Mackay. Yeah, good one.
Yeah. And Josh Worrell comes in. He's been playing, I think he's been playing as a bit of a swingman for Adelaide. So he's been playing forward, he's been playing back. So, I mean, if they can contain them, they deserve to win, but I just don't see how they can contain them. And then we now have TDK. I know he's not a known goal scorer, but he's going to be an option for us up forward. We've got Fish to clean things up. Oh, Matt Owies is in. Sorry, I misspoke before. Matt Owies is there to apply pressure, and he's good for a couple of goals. So it's, you're right, Pom. It's going to be a tough day at the office, I imagine, for Adelaide. They've got a pretty strong midfield at the moment. Sam Berry's playing out of his mind. Ben Kea's had a very good year. Rory Laird has been dominant. They got Mitch Hinge when he's healthy on the wing, which is good, and Chase Jones. So, they don't have an awful midfield with Riley O'Brien. It's going to be a really good contest in the middle, but our forwards versus their backs and our backs versus their forwards, you'd have to lean towards us. Outside of Taylor Walker, I don't think any of these players have ever kicked a goal against Carlton, and Taylor Walker could kick 5, but with Wiedering and Mitch McGovern in the same team now, with Young and Plowman floating around, I don't see him having a very good game.
Mate, I think it's going to be an interesting one as well. Like Shane Matthews talks here about Dawson. Obviously,
Dawson's good. He's really, really good.
He likes to float on the wing as well, we've seen with them. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting because you'd imagine that's Owies' domain, you escaping 50. And also then the defensive winger usually is Mr. the legend himself, Will Satterfield, who did a very good job last week. I think a lot of people are underselling as well how hard he worked defensively, covering his halfbacks when they went up. So I think it's going to be interesting. So the last 5 minutes, score predictions. Top goal scorer. Who kicks the most goals? And what shall we do this time? Who is going to have the most? Oh, actually, give me a headline from the game. Hey, I haven't done that for a couple of weeks.
That's always tough. Well, I think, what did I say? 36. I think I'm actually going to increase that by a goal. I'll say 42 now, having seen the sides do day out. Certainly hurts. Most goals, it's tough because I always want to zag when people zig, but it's hard to bet against a Charlie Kerner or a Harry McCall. I'll say this. All right. So Mitch McGovern gets thrown forward in the final quarter and kicks 5 off his own boot. Mitch McGovern, Lewis Young goes back, frees up Mitch McGovern. He's going to be the leading goal scorer. Revenge to a game for Mitch McGovern. Played some good games at Adelaide Oval.
Tell you what, I reckon there'll be a fuckload of odds on that. Like, imagine if that comes through and you didn't put a tenner on it. You'd retire, bro. You would retire. I like it. And what was your score prediction? 42 now.
42, yeah. Tacked on a goal, having seen the lineups, and I thought the headline's always hard. I don't know. I don't know. I want to make a pun on McLovin, but call it McGovern. I got nothing, Pom. McGovern. That's all I got.
McLovin.
It's between that or Muhammad. Muhammad's the most common name in the world.
Yeah, read a book for once. I reckon I'm going to go with, this is a big call. I reckon Charlie will hit double figures, 11 goals for Charlie. I think I've got a feeling Charlie is going to go big. He's going to look and be like, have they really put Nick Murray on me?
Yeah.
And he's going to be like, oh, Jesus, good afternoon, this. So I reckon he's going to go double figures, so 10 plus. I will say Carlton by 53. And I reckon the headline will be Charlie beats Buddy in everything, and Buddy's wife leaves him for Charlie.
I like this one in chat. Angus says Mark Pitt breaks hit out record. I like that. It's a tough matchup. Riley O'Brien's a good ruckman, but anything that talks up Pitto, I'm 100% in on.
Tell you what, imagine it. If he kicks 11, Sportsbet will pay me out. Tell you what, we probably shouldn't promote gambling, but I don't care. Let's just have a look. Because the fact 11's in my head just says to me, Pom, you've got to put money on it. You know what I mean? But if you were going to go goal scorers markets and...
Dom Pang with a good headline, Blues murder Crows. I like that. That's a pun.
Okay.
That's a...
Blues,
good.
Blues murder Crows. Tell you what, Crows are my favourite. Crows are my favourite animal as well. You know what I mean? Disgrace, but it's a great article. Do you think Charlie is one of the next Jason Dunstals? I think he's the next Lockett, mate.
Lockett wishes he was Charlie Curnow.
He goes to bed now wishing he was Charlie. Charlie kicks 11, we win by 110 points. Mate, I've got a feeling. Do you know what I mean? I've got a feeling. Well, thank you very much, everyone. If he kicks 11 while I'm on the watch along, I won't be able to speak because that's a lot of Charlie Curnow songs.
Yeah, we'll have to send medical assistance directly to your house. We'll have him on standby.
Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a tough one. But thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Muchas gracias, as always. We will be back next week. Make sure you tune in to the live watch along that will run concurrent with the game. You can check Let Dog out on anything that's fantasy, really. If you just type in fantasy and Let Dog, you'll actually don't type in that.
Yeah, you get some mixed results on that. There's some fan fiction, but it's mostly footy content. At Lecdog on Twitter, jockreynolds.com.au for all your super coach needs, and Blue Abroad for weekly chats with Pom.
Hey, exactly. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We will be back next week. Look after. Go and check out Pom in Oz as well, because I've just put my review up. Give some Pom 100%. Some love, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Go Blue.